Morning everyone, Bungo Bob here. Today we're at Sedges Fishery. We're fishing a teams of 4 across Toyle Lake and Brick Lake. 20 pegs per lake, so 10 teams of 4. I'm fishing today with Mostella stalwart Vic Bush, Alvin Jones, and Beaver stepped in, I believe, last minute as we had a letdown. Always happens, doesn't it? All the money that's won is based on the teams. There's no individual money, which is nice. I quite like that when it's sort of down team fishing and things. We'll be fishing it across Brick Lake and Toyle Lake. It's 10 teams of 4, so 40 anglers, and there's 40 pegs, so that worked out nice, doesn't it? I think it's going to be sort of maggot orientated from what I've seen when I snuck down in the week on Brick Lake, and Toyle Lake will be a little bit more diverse. Might be a little bit of expander fishing, maybe a little bit of sort of pinky and maggot over ground bait, but there might be the sort of ping and maggots as well, might well come into play. So it's going to be an interesting day. I'll catch up with you on the bank in a bit. I'm going to go and have a lovely fried breakfast now, and I'll see you all on the bank. Cheers. I missed 2 on it already here, to be honest, but might have been liners. Three elastic, he's putting up a fight there. He swam in the net for me in the end. He gave up, he pitted my poor netting skills. Oh, don't worry, there he was. What this is, don't feel right. Take a bit of line off the bottom there. Right, take a little bit of line off the bottom now. Oh no, it's a hybrid. it's not. That's a big eye. Got a great big eye, this one. Is that one of those silver? That's a silver bream. They got silver bream in here, Eric. That's lovely for a silver bream, that, isn't it? They don't go very big, do they? Lovely, beautiful fish, mate. Absolutely unmarked. Okay, folks, the draw's been done, and I have landed on peg 31, which is a corner peg on Toyle Lake. Fairly happy with that. I've put a ball of ground bait in on the right hand side, just a one hand squeeze ball of 50% crushed expander and 50% Tom Thicks black. And we've just caught our first skimmer over that after 30 minutes. We started on the pellets like we always do down here on this lake, on the left hand side, both at 14.5 meters, same rig, same depth. Well, I say same depth. I'm probably laying about 3 inches on the right hand line over the ground bait, and I'm probably about an inch on with the pellet. But not caught anything on the pellet, but do need another line to rest that ground bait line every now and then. Very little. I've put very little in on both lines. So a little concerned at the start, really, because everybody went out on the feeder and started spraying maggots for the waggler line and things, and I was sort of thinking, well, I might be a little bit late to the show here if I leave my long lines too long, sort of waiting wise. But at the same time, I was quite conscious that once you start feeding past those pole lines, you're not going to catch on those pole lines. And being on an M peg, although corners aren't terrific, we knew as a team we were always probably going to draw one, because 2 lakes rectangular, so that's 8 corners, 10 teams. I mean, 8 of those 10 teams are going to get a corner, so we got one. So I'm on that, and then we've got Vic Bush over on Brick Lake, and he's on peg 14, and we've got Beaver on peg 2 on there, and on my lake with me is Alvin on peg 25, which is on the far side, right in the middle. It runs from 21 down to 30 that side, and this side then comes over and runs 31 down to 40. So after it's more like about 35 minutes, to be honest. I spent about 20 minutes on the pellet, nothing happened, and then I've gone over that one little hand squeeze ball ground bait and caught, this is my 3rd one, I've caught 3 straight away on the trot, which is a fantastic start, to be honest. I thought 10 to 12 pound is going to be very good points if we can all sort of catch that sort of weight from our respective areas. But yeah, that's a great start. A sort of £4 plus. So happy with that. I know now I can settle down. I don't need to start chucking rods around or spraying bait all over the place. I can just be very methodical, feeding fish quite negatively, really, which is what I do. It's my sort of style, if you like. I do believe, as I've said before on a previous video, it is you've got to fish to your own strengths in match fishing, and that's what I do. I like to feed quite negatively and see what's in the peg first before I start looking at drawing fish into the peg. I want to try and catch what's in the peg. So nice and steady away. So as usual for me, it's the old pencil float, because conditions are just perfect, aren't they? I mean, it's cold, but you can see how flat calm it is. It's overcast, which is lucky because it is very clear of the water. As you've probably seen from a shot just now, I mean, netting a fish, I mean, you can see the fish 18 inches, 2 foot under the water, maybe more. So luckily the sun's not out. I wanted to fish a bit longer line even to me floats, to be honest. But I've got a short 4 on my top kits, and they're hardly long enough. So as a fair old depth, I was surprised when I plumbed up on the waggler that, I mean, there is an aerator, you can see out there, that blue aerator, and I think it was probably 8.5 foot out there, which really surprised me. I only brought a 12-foot rod. Well, you start trying to fish 8.5 foot on a 12-foot rod, and you know, I was sort of thinking, blimey, wish I brought a longer rod down. So I'm quite glad I haven't had to chuck that, to be honest. Oh. I'm gonna have to practice me netting. It's woeful today. I even missed that. Oh, and it ain't due to lack of size of net, is it? That's proof of the pudding. The float didn't hardly move then, and it's dimpled right down, so I'm not going to take any shot off at all. Not at all. And the float is really dimpled down. I've got a number 12 and a number 13 trimming shot right next to the bristle. So if I get a little bit of rip or something, I can pull one or both of those up and show a little bit more bristle. If I pull the 13 up, you probably see the tip of the float as it is with the 13 down there as well. I mean, it really is. It's just a dimple on the water, to be honest. So again, we're just going to top up the pellet line. It's only about 30 micros going in there. It's next to nothing. And then we're going to drop back over that ground bait and try and catch another one. But I just want to make sure there's something going in that pellet line, because I know I will need to go over it just to rest that ground bait line. Hoping to catch on the pellet line as well. And as you know, if you've seen my first video, the last hour really you can catch on that pellet very well here. So I want to keep that pellet line primed. Using a very soft elastic, I imagine you're starting to see a pattern here now for anybody who's watched that in my other videos. I do like using a soft elastic, but I just think, yeah, it might take a little bit longer if it does at all to net them, but I just think when you hook them, you don't jolt their heads up. You're not sort of pulling them 6 inches off the bottom, so as you hit them, you sort of hit into them with a really soft elastic. You can strike like Zorro, and the fish can just swim out. You can just follow the fish out or just ship straight back. And you can, and with skimmers, you don't want any slack in the elastic, so you want to really be throwing that pole back nice and positive and fast, keeping a nice taut line and elastic to the fish. You tend to lose less fish that way. I really thought it was going to be a maggot day as well, and I'm not catching on that, and I'm not catching on my beloved fluoro pinkies either. I'm actually catching on a single red pinky for whatever reason. It just seems to be, not saying I wouldn't catch on any other bait, but for some reason that just seems to get me a bite quicker. So just topping up, like I said, that golf ball ground bait, and then a look on the pellet line. I'm looking around me, seeing what's being caught, and as I said earlier in the match, there was definitely one or two caught some early fish, which is on the feeder rather, and you can see now I'm back over the ground bait already, so I've cut out the time over the pellet because I've caught nothing on it yet. But it did rest this swim. I think that's very important to be able to rest that ground bait line. Very little's gone in there, nowhere near overfed me peg or anything, but I just want to draw one or two fish in. I don't want loads there, I just want one or two, catch them and then top it up and leave them and let them settle again. Both lines at 14.5 metres, about 6.5 foot deep, I'd say. Using my 0.4 pencil type float, so as that light elastic can strike straight through that very easily and connect with the fish. Obviously if it's a little bit breezier or visibility wasn't quite as good, I may have to use a more bulbous bodied float, and that way I would probably use a 4 or even a 5 elastic. But as it is, I'm using a 0.4 pencil float, and so I can get away with a 3 elastic quite comfortably. just nice to be on some fish, to be honest. I've had a bit of a run where we've done all right, but we've not been on good pegs. And in the winter, you want to catch a few fish to keep your enthusiasm up, don't you? As anglers, we love catching fish, and yeah, this is turning out quite nice, enjoying it. There's a few fish around, but there always is at Sedges, to be honest. Very fair venue. So at the moment I'm sort of still topping up that pellet line, as I say, but I am sort of thinking, whilst I'm catching fish, I'm catching 2, sometimes 3 skimmers over that golf ball ground bait. Then I'm having to feed it and leave it. I don't want to fish it to the point where I'm waiting 10-15 minutes to catch my next skimmer, because you're sort of emptying the peg, if you know, or emptying that line, if you know what I mean. You want to leave some fish in there and get them used to getting a little bit of bait sort of topped up. Otherwise you can kill that line altogether, and I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to take 2 to 3 fish off of it, and as soon as I'm waiting too long to get a bite, I'm coming off it, putting in that little ball ground bait, and then going on to that pellet line, which, to be honest, isn't working yet. I am in my head already thinking about, should I be putting a bit of ground bait on that pellet line now? But I'm just concerned that the pellet could go really well in the last hour and I could be caught out. So these are things you sort of weigh up during the match. Is any of you do, or any anglers really? So I've made the conscious decision now, I think, to feed a small amount of ground bait on the pellet line. A very small amount, I don't really spoil it from being a pellet line. If I want to switch it back to being a pellet line, I might even put a few micros in that tiny amount of ground bait as well, just to sort of keep it as a pellet line. But put a little bit of ground bait in there, try and catch on the pinky over there as well, just so I can keep ticking over whilst I'm resting that ground bait line. Otherwise I'm going to be in trouble, because I'm going to be catching too many fish off that one line, and I don't think in winter like that you can keep catching for 5 hours, so you've got to keep resting it. So you can see now we're actually over that pellet line now, and there you go. We've put in a tiny amount of ground bait, and lo and behold, now we've caught a fish on a single pinky. Not put a single pinky or a maggot or anything on that line, just a little punch of ground bait with a few micros in there. As I say, I can still turn that into a pellet line later, and if I am worried I've messed it up, I can always sort of go me dolly butt or another section past it, and start putting in those pellets once they turn on to those pellets. Well, if they turn on to those pellets, but might be a day where they don't, because they certainly seem to be enjoying that little bit of ground bait at the moment. The ground bait I'm using today is Tom Fix Black, 50-50 with some crushed expander. Crushed expander just keeps that feed level down. I don't want to feed the fish off, I just want to attract them. And I got Tom's in there as well because, well, it does attract fish. It's fish meal based, isn't it? They love that down here. So we're back in Somerset this week. It's Sedges. They do a cracking breakfast down here. So it was a nice social. 40 guys there as well. Denise and Jamie done a great job with the breakfasts. there we are, over the pellet line again, and we've caught another one. So brilliant. You know, that's a dream come true, really. We've got 2 lines now we can catch on, so we can just plod along like that. Or if something goes wrong on one, we can sort of use it as a test dummy, really, if you like. We can sort of feed it in a different way, and see how it reacts, and save the other line as we're doing, just to ensure we still catch something. So all nice, all going well. Well, it couldn't go any better, really. We haven't changed from putting in that little punch of ground bait. I'll show you a picture of the punch in a minute. I've got a few different sizes, to be honest. And the reason I like a punch is you can dictate how firm you make it. Sort of you push it in with your thumb, and you can push in as much as or as little as you want. You can have it sort of made a bit looser, and you get some consistency. You get used to. And I'm putting it in quite hard, really. So sort of thumb the ground bait into it, put it in as a nice hard little pellet of ground bait, and I'm catching 2 fish on that, and then feeding another pellet on the line. I caught the 2 fish off and moving to the other one. I think that's important to say. I'm not going straight over the little pellet of ground bait. I'm feeding the pellet of ground bait on the line I'm about to leave, and then go on the other one where the fish have settled on that last little pellet of ground bait. And yeah, it couldn't be going any better, really. It's a bit of a dream match, to be honest. I'm proper bunghole today, which is nice because, as I said before, I've had some right groolers lately, so it's really nice to catch some fish. So yeah, back over the original ground bait line now. Getting the odd sort of brain one on it as well, you know, the sort of 2.5 pound fish as well now in between the skimmers, which is lovely. Real weight builders. They're all weight builders. I mean, I don't mind what size they are as long as I keep catching. I just love catching fish, to be honest. We all do, don't we? So it turned out in the end, beaver on peg 2 on Brick Lake won his section. I won my section. I caught 34 pound 2 ounces. Actually got me third in the match, but more importantly, the team won. We had 2 second in sections and 2 firsts, which was brilliant. You know, cracking bunch of lads, all of them that come down here and fish. Lovely company, lovely fishing, great breakfast. What's not the like, really? Yeah, terrific day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everyone, and I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers.